Hey, what's up, gamers? What is the series that comes to mind whenever you think of a role-playing game, or a role-playing series for that matter? Is it, your Elder Scrolls, where you're waking up as a prisoner on a prison boat in Vardenfell, or maybe waking up in the prisons of the Imperial City, or even maybe waking up on the back of a prisoner carriage going into Helgen in the Province of Skyrim? Now that I notice that Oblivion really just wants you to be a prisoner right at the beginning of the game, what the hell did you do before the opening of the game anyway? Or you might think of a good role-playing game, maybe like, the classic Final Fantasies, which I've never really gotten into the classic Final Fantasies myself. By the way, don't kill me. But a lot of people love those series and they think of those as a true-to-form role-playing game. Where in my cup of tea, I've always kind of associated, of course, the Fallout games as a perfect role-playing experience for me. In fact, being the Fallout Chad that I am, I love playing Fallout New Vegas. In fact, I've gone back through and, put hundreds and hundreds of hours into Fallout New Vegas because it's the 3D Fallout experience that's closest to its 2D counterpart, Fallout 1 and 2. And that's actually the subject of today's video. I wanted to actually talk about Fallout 1 and 2 and why, if you are a Fallout fan who came late into the game like myself, and you're looking to play a true Fallout role-playing experience, then let's get all of our orders from the Overseer, strap on our pit boy, loot all of this shit from Ed. Sorry, Ed. And... oh, wait. There's a rat. Oh, wait. There's another rat. Hold on, let me take care of this other rat. Yep, there's another. And... okay. There we go. And step out into the California wasteland. Fuck it, let's get into this. Let's start talking about Fallout. If a lot of you are like me, you probably came late into the game and started playing Fallout 3 when Bethesda started taking the IP. In fact, I still think Fallout 3 to this day is still a pretty good experience. It's not the best role-playing experience that you could find out there because it is pretty, by the books in terms of its main quest. But it's still a pretty solid experience. In fact, if you go and play Tales of the Two Wastelands on Fallout New Vegas, you can have an even better experience with Fallout 3. So if any of you are looking for that experience, go back and do that. But yeah, I thought it was pretty intense that Fallout New Vegas came out just a year and a half later, and it was a completely better game with incredibly better writing. The shooting actually felt a lot better. And the writing was the thing that really got to me. You got to really learn a lot about the west side of the wasteland, or west side of the US, which was something that I, never really got to experience with Fallout 3 and all of its DLCs. But over the past few years, I have really gone and dipped my toes into the classic Fallout 1 and 2 experience. And I gotta say, if you are a Fallout fan and you are looking to have that true-to-form role-playing game experience, stop playing Fallout New Vegas and stop playing Fallout 3 and 4.
Ah, you're here. Good. We've got a problem. A big one.
Fallout 1, just for a quick breakdown, you're basically a vault dweller who has to go ahead and leave their vault as an order from the Overseer there to go ahead and try to replace the water chip that is now dissipated inside of your vault. Your vault is pretty much running out of water, and so you have a time limit to go ahead and try to find a water chip that works for your vault, so that way you can have running water again. When it comes to the story, a lot of the characters that you're going to meet inside of these games are very intriguing characters. You'll meet some characters who are talking heads, and they'll end up having a lot of different dialogue trees, and there are a lot of characters, just side characters, that are available to go ahead and speak to as well, which also have deep, engaging stories. You'll meet Aradesh and Tandy and Shady Sands, who eventually end up becoming the prefects of the NCR, who show up later in Fallout New Vegas and are referenced in the other Bethesda games. There are a few characters that actually show back up. In fact, Harold, if you remember Harold as the big tree guy inside of Fallout 3, well, you'll get to meet him inside of the hub. He's just chilling out in a little back home, and he'll get to tell you about how he became the way he was. You get to discover the hub, which is the original trading ground and the home of the Crimson Caravan that shows up in Fallout New Vegas. You'll get to discover why bottle caps are the main currency in the area, which is actually pretty cool, and why it's come back into the later games. Just going back and seeing these places that were referenced back in Fallout New Vegas especially, it's really cool seeing all the origins of a lot of these different factions and these different areas that they would reference in those games.
What did you say?
But the great thing is that once you get pretty far into the game, it actually doesn't end there once you save the vault. You're actually going to continue the story forward, and there's going to be a mutant threat that's going ahead and attacking the wasteland, and you have to figure out what's going on with that. In Fallout 2, you play as the Chosen One, who's actually a direct descendant of the Vault Dweller from Fallout 1. And your master has tasked you of finding the Gek, or the Garden of Eden creation kit, which you probably remember from Fallout 3. So that way they can keep their tribe going and keep a sustainable life at their home of Arroyo. But just like Fallout 1, it doesn't stop there. When you go ahead and try to acquire the Gek, there is another threat that is facing the wasteland that you have to try to take down, which if you're a fan of Fallout 3 and a fan of the Enclave from there, you'll definitely love a revisit of Fallout 2. Now, when it comes to story, I don't actually want to spoil too much or get too much into them, because I feel like a lot of people, if you have never experienced these games before, I really feel like you should go through and see these stories for yourself. One of the things that I thought was incredibly pleasing about the Fallout universe was just the aesthetics that really went into the world. With Fallout 3, Bethesda really kind of held on to the 50s aesthetic that was found in the classic Fallout 1 and 2, but one of the things that I actually found was really intriguing going back and playing Fallout 1 and 2 was actually the 90s aesthetic that was there inside of the game. And that with Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, even Fallout 4 and 76, those games are really lacking that aesthetic with the game. You really do see a lot of the retro-futuristic stuff with the 50s era vehicles, the robots inspired by 50s movies from back in the day, but they're really missing that 90s vibe that really made Fallout 1 and 2 to this day still stand out and be unique.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Fallout 1 and 2 are incredibly bleak games when it comes to its atmosphere and the vibe that it creates. Sure, you had the post-apocalyptic nature that was there inside of the game where, you know, you're exploring this post-apocalyptic wasteland and discovering all these new things here and there. But the writing was something that really made it stand out for me and what made me kind of keep coming back for Fallout 1 and 2. And that's the thing, is when it comes to these games, the bleakness is just what's not there inside of these newer games. Like the bleak nature, the dark humor that is inside of these games, sure, you will find it in the newer games, but in my opinion, except for Fallout New Vegas, it's pretty tame if you ask me. And that's the thing, with Fallout 1 and 2, you're still going to find that cheeky humor that's always there in the newer Fallout games, but there is just this darker nature that comes into the classic Fallout games that just keeps making me come back to those games. It could be the actual art style as well that really brings me back into it, where it just looks like everything in the game is kind of like stop motion. I don't know, that stuff just really intrigues me. But if you've probably heard me say, as I've been talking about these games over this video, is that it took me a few years to actually get into this game and start really getting into it. And the reason for that is the combat. Yeah, by the way, this happens quite a bit, so yeah, save as much as you can in this game. First tip of the video in terms of combat and in the game in general, learn how to use your hotkeys as quickly as you can. They are going to help incredibly in this game. Don't get me wrong, Fallout 1 and 2 are fantastic games and you should definitely play them, but keep in mind, these games are fucking hard. Like, they're hard. They're tough, dude. We'll get into it though. So with the combat, with it being turn-based, There is a level of strategy that you have to play into this game. You can't really go inside of places and go guns blazing like you would in, like, say, Fallout 3 or Fallout 4 or whatever. You really have to strategize on how you're going to go ahead and approach combat, which I actually appreciate and I think is a really good learning curve in this game, which not a lot of people understand about revisiting these games and why it turns a lot of people off when they try to revisit these games. You can't just come into this game and think you're going to go ahead and breeze through the story really fast, unless you have a really good build and you kind of know how to get through your way in the game, or have a guide, which I highly recommend you do. If you are going into this game for the first time, I highly recommend pulling up a guide and playing with a guide throughout the game. And also, I'm going to put a couple guides down below that I had actually used when going through Fallout 1 and 2 for the very first time. Fallout 1 and 2, you really want to take a lot of other stuff into account. Your strength really does affect your carry weight as well as your weapon requirements for certain weapons. They'll have like a strength requirement for you to use. And then other things like endurance, perception, agility, all that type of stuff really does matter. So you really want to spec out your character to the best of your abilities. With the combat in Fallout 1 and 2, like I said, there's a lot of strategy that comes into it. So you have to really kind of plan your combat out a little bit. When you do get into combat, you have to make sure that you fucking plan beforehand. You want to make sure that you, of course, have your gun loaded. That's one thing that I always made a mistake with, is just not reloading and getting my ass handed to me in the middle of combat.
The darkness of the afterlife is all that awaits you now. May you find more peace in that world than you found in this one.
And you want to make sure that you have the right weapon for the job, and of course for your build. If you're going to be a melee character with high strength and also high endurance, definitely make sure that you are running in there with a fucking melee weapon, as well as some perks that go towards your melee build as well. There's a lot of perks inside of this game, and you really want to spec out your character with those perks. I highly recommend awareness for almost any build, however, because awareness is going to help you out with seeing how much health your enemies have during combat. And also, with luck really comes into play a lot inside of this game. So if you have a high luck build, you're going to get those crits a lot easier inside of combat. Once you have your build and you're able to get some companions, you can actually plan out your combat very well. In fact, Fallout 2 introduces a companion option menu where you can actually change things up. And in Fallout Fix, down below in the description, it actually brings those things back into the dialogue wheel, so it just makes it a lot easier for your companions to do better in combat. I actually play Fallout 1 and 2 with restoration patches, so that way it brings back a lot of the cut content that is not there and present inside of the Bethesda remarketed versions of the game. I tried to play the most vanilla version of the game, so that way I can get the correct experience for Fallout 1 and 2. And I'm actually going to go ahead and link those mods down below if you want to use those, if you're looking to actually go back and play these mods in the future. One last point that I want to go ahead and make about character creation and your build is that it's not a bad idea to go ahead and place a few points into charisma. And the reason for that is because you can have multiple companions in both Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. And when it comes to companions, that of course is going to make combat a lot easier on your end. I feel like a lot of Fallout fans don't get to experience Fallout 1 and 2. In fact, a lot of fans like me who got into Fallout around Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, a lot of them that I talked to have still to this day never played Fallout 1 and 2. And a lot of times the reason is because of the combat or even the isometric or trimetric nature. And don't get me wrong, it took me a very long time to get into that style of gameplay. But trust me, once you get past that learning curve inside of the game and you kind of have the right build that's there for your character, definitely give these games a playthrough. In fact, don't feel like you are cheating the game by using a guide or even using a character editor like FALCHE. Those tools and those resources are there to help new and beginning players really get into these series and really get into the experience and kind of guide you through it. So don't feel like a newbie if you have to go in and turn down the combat difficulty to easy or even the game difficulty to easy. In fact, I did it on my very first playthroughs of these games and it really helped me enjoy the experience a lot more. But if you really want to have a harder time and want to have that hard experience in that harsh wasteland, definitely turn up the difficulty and, make an interesting build that will be there and right for you. But yeah, if you're a Fallout fan like me and you have yet to try Fallout 1 and 2, I highly recommend that you go back and experience these games for yourself. Definitely use a guide as well as make a character editor if that's something that's going to help you get through that experience. Do it. These games are incredibly well made, and I feel like they're kind of forgotten gems in the current landscape of video game. If you really want to experience a proper role-playing experience and you want to try something new, I highly recommend that you go back and play Fallout 1 and 2. They're fantastic games, and I feel like they do not get enough recognition nowadays. But yeah, that's my opinion on Fallout 1 and 2. Have you played Fallout 1 and 2 yourself? If you're an experienced Wastelander and you've been around since the original first 2 games, let me know down in the comments down below. What are some tips that you would give for newcomers going into the series? And if you want to see more Fallout videos like this and just video essays that are kind of built out like this as well, hit that little sub button down below and kind of hit the little bell. You know, it kind of help your boy out. I'm coming back with some videos. Hit that like button as well. It definitely helps with the stuff here. Dislike it if you don't like it, whatever you want to do. Also, if you want to catch me playing any sort of Fallout or other games, I like to go back and play a lot of like classic games over on my Twitch channel. So if you want to see me over there, it's twitch.tv/BladeOpotato. I play a lot of modded stuff over there, as well as classic games like stuff from GameCube, PS2 era. So if you're into that stuff, definitely come and hang out in the chat. We have a lot of fun over there.
Can you smell shit? I can.
Are we playing Cyberpunk right now? Like, hold on, let me turn on the music. Now we're in Cyberpunk. Wake up, samurai. We've got a city to burn. Also, I just wanted to add one more footnote to the video. I wanted to shout out tks-mantis for actually inspiring me to get back into these games and actually getting me back into content creation as well. tks-mantis makes a lot of great Fallout content. In fact, he has made a lot of great Fallout 1 and 2 content recently for getting a lot of new and inexperienced players back into the game. So I highly recommend going and checking out his channel and checking out his content because he makes fantastic Fallout content. And shout out to tks-mantis for kind of getting me back into content creation and inspiring me to get back into this stuff. I'm going to be coming back with a different video later on. Thank you if you got to the end of this video. I appreciate the hell out of you. And until next time, I hope you stay sexy, gamers. I'll catch you later.
Oh my God, he called me sexy.
Through the town of Outfield rode a stranger one fine day. Hardly spoke to folks around him, didn't have too much to say.